November 8, 2017. The air high above the city of Changsha, China, was freezing and violent. Standing on the absolute edge of the 62-story Huowanhua Center was a 26-year-old daredevil named Wu Yongning. He looked down at the sprawling abyss below, completely unfazed. For years, Wu had scraped by as a low-budget movie extra and stunt man, barely earning enough to survive. Desperate to change his fate and break out of poverty, he discovered a dark, highly addictive corner of the internet, the terrifying world of rooftopping. For those unfamiliar, rooftopping is an extreme, illegal urban subculture where individuals scale skyscrapers, massive cranes, and high-voltage bridges to capture vertigo-inducing photos and videos. There are no harnesses, no safety nets, and absolutely no room for error. A single gust of wind or a momentary lapse in focus means instant death, but Wu didn't just want to stand on the edge, he wanted to dominate the internet. To stand out, he began performing jaw-dropping stunts right on the precipice, riding segways along narrow ledges and hanging by his fingertips hundreds of feet in the air. His terrifying content rapidly gained traction, earning him over 1 million followers and nearly $83,000. He was finally making real money, which he desperately needed to fund his mother's soaring medical bills and to pay for his upcoming wedding. The pressure to stay relevant, however, was crushing. In the world of viral content, audiences get bored quickly. Every video has to be more dangerous, more insane than the last that morning. Wu was driven by a new incentive, an online competition promising a $15,000 prize for the most viral video. Exhausted from the grueling climb but running out of time before security could spot him, he hastily set up his tripod, hit record, and lowered his body over the sheer vertical drop. His plan was simple: perform 3 consecutive pull-ups from the edge of the building and pull himself back up to safety, just like he had done dozens of times before. But this time, something was terribly wrong. The smooth exterior wall of the skyscraper offered no traction. The camera captured his immediate struggle as his muscles, already depleted from the climb, began to fail. He desperately tried to find a foothold on the glass and concrete, but the surface was far too slippery. For several agonizing seconds, he fought for his life, his grip weakening by the millisecond. Then his fingers slipped. Wu plummeted 45 feet onto a lower maintenance terrace, dying instantly from the impact. His body wasn't discovered until the following day when a window cleaner stumbled upon the grim scene. A young man driven by love for his family and the relentless trap of viral fame sacrificed everything for a video that was never meant to be his last. On the night of February 5, 2021, the Urban Air Trampoline Park in Hermitage, Tennessee was buzzing with laughter. It was a typical weekend night filled with families and groups of friends looking to unwind. But around 9:25 p.m., the atmosphere in the dark parking lot outside shifted from cheerful to absolute horror. Out of the shadows, a 20-year-old man named Timothy Wilkes came sprinting directly toward a group of unsuspecting strangers. In his right hand, he wielded a massive, gleaming butcher knife. To anyone looking at his background, Timothy was an upstanding, incredibly hardworking young man. He was just a single month away from graduating as a certified HVAC technician, and his professional future looked exceptionally bright. However, Timothy harbored a dangerous obsession with internet culture. He spent countless hours watching popular prank channels on YouTube and became consumed by the desire to create a mega-viral video of his own. His concept was high risk. A fake robbery prank where he would attack random people with a weapon, record their terror, and post it online. What Timothy completely failed to understand was a critical, dark secret of the internet. Almost all high-stakes prank videos are entirely staged. The victims are actors who know exactly what's about to happen. But Timothy wanted his content to be raw and authentic. He chose a real, unscripted environment, intending to terrify the group before revealing the hidden camera. As he lunged forward with the butcher knife, he had no idea that one of the men in that group was 23-year-old David Starnes Jr. David was legally carrying a concealed firearm for protection. From David's perspective, there was no camera, no joke, and no warning. There was only a masked attacker charging out of the dark, threatening to slaughter him and his friends. In a split-second survival instinct, David drew his weapon and fired. A single bullet struck Timothy, causing him to collapse to the asphalt. By the time emergency services arrived, Timothy had succumbed to his wounds. David cooperated fully with the police, and after a thorough investigation, his actions were ruled as justifiable self-defense. In the pursuit of a fleeting moment of internet stardom, a young man turned a harmless toy into a lethal reality, costing him his life in a matter of seconds. A 20-year-old YouTuber named Mona Lisa Perez posted a chilling prophetic message on Twitter. "Me and Pedro are probably going to shoot one of the most dangerous videos ever. His idea, not mine." To their casual followers, it sounded like typical clickbait meant to build hype. In reality, it was a terrifying prelude to a domestic catastrophe that would unfold just 3 hours later. Mona Lisa and her boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz, had been running a wholesome YouTube channel called Mona Lisa and Fam since late 2016. Their content consisted of harmless family vlogs, lighthearted challenges, and chronicles of their daily lives as a young couple. While the channel grew steadily, Pedro became intensely frustrated with the slow pace of their success. He wanted astronomical growth, and he wanted it immediately. To achieve this, he devised a spin-off channel titled Damn It Boy, which would focus exclusively on highly dangerous, shocking stunts. Pedro believed he had conceptualized the ultimate viral breakthrough. The premise of his debut video was a crude physics experiment. He wanted to see if a thick, heavy encyclopedia could stop a point-blank shot from a massive, high-powered 50 caliber handgun. But instead of setting the book against a wooden block or a ballistic dummy, Pedro insisted on holding the encyclopedia directly against his own chest while Mona Lisa pulled the trigger. Mona Lisa was horrified by the suggestion and vehemently opposed it for nearly 2 months. However, Pedro was relentlessly persuasive, confidently assuring her that he had tested the theory on other materials and that the book would easily absorb the impact. On the evening of June 26th, they set up 2 cameras in the backyard of their home in Hallstatt, Minnesota. The situation was profoundly tragic. Not only were neighbors watching from their yards, but the couple's 3-year-old daughter was standing right there. Pedro held the heavy book to his chest, smiled at the camera, and gave the signal. The blast was deafening. The massive 50 caliber bullet tore through the paper of the encyclopedia like tissue paper, entering Pedro's chest with catastrophic force. He collapsed instantly. Despite the frantic efforts of bystanders and paramedics who rushed to the scene, the damage was fatal. Pedro died on the grass in front of his family. Making the tragedy even more heartbreaking, Mona Lisa was heavily pregnant with their second child at the time. She was arrested and later pleaded guilty to second-degree manslaughter. Recognizing the severe manipulation and tragedy she had endured, the court sentenced her to 6 months in prison rather than the standard 15-year maximum. A young family was permanently shattered, leaving behind an unforgettable warning about the deadly price of internet validation. Next story. For over a decade, Dmitry Nyashin built an immaculate, highly respected reputation within the elite fitness circles of Russia. Operating under the brand Dmitry Fit, he worked tirelessly as a personal trainer, bodybuilder, and lifestyle coach, accumulating over 40,000 dedicated online followers. The absolute cornerstone of Dmitry's brand was his unyielding commitment to transparency and truth. He refused to promote shortcut supplements or fake routines, strictly adhering to the exact diet and exercise programs he mandated for his clients to prove their efficacy. But in September 2025, that very obsession with extreme authenticity drove him to launch a challenge that would ultimately prove fatal. Dmitry announced to his audience that he was going to intentionally sabotage his peak physical condition by deliberately gaining 55 pounds at 25 kilograms in an incredibly short period. Once obese, he planned to document his journey of losing every single pound using only his specialized training regimens, offering cash prizes to followers who joined his weight loss program. Gaining that much weight rapidly, however, is a massive violation of human biology. To force his body to expand at an unnatural rate, Dmitry placed himself on a terrifying crash diet, consuming upwards of 10,000 calories every single day. To put that into perspective, an active man of his build requires roughly 2,800 calories just to maintain weight. Dmitry began uploading videos of himself consuming staggering quantities of calorie-dense junk food, heavily processed sugars, and saturated fats. He had successfully transformed his sculpted physique into a dangerous state of obesity, and his audience was eagerly anticipating the weight loss phase of the challenge. Then his channel suddenly went completely dark. No videos, no posts, no updates. Days later, his close friends reported that Dmitry had been uncharacteristically missing scheduled training sessions, complaining of severe lethargy and chest pains. Before he could even manage to see a medical specialist, the extreme biological stress caught up with him. While asleep in his bed, the 30-year-old trainer suffered a sudden catastrophic cardiac arrest, his heart completely overtaxed by the sudden influx of visceral fat, massive sodium spikes, and the sheer volume of a 10,000-calorie daily intake simply gave out. He completed his viral challenge, but he never lived to see the transformation back. Anvi Kamdar was a vibrant, deeply loved 27-year-old Indian travel influencer. Known to her 300,000 Instagram followers as the Global Journal, Anvi was a certified chartered accountant who abandoned the corporate world to pursue her true passion, exploring the hidden, untouched wonders of the world. Her content stood out because of its relentless positivity, highlighting remote landscapes, local cultures, and breathtaking waterfalls through beautifully edited drone footage and high-definition photography. On July 15, 2024, Anvi uploaded a highly popular video listing the top domestic destinations to visit during the rainy monsoon season. Her fans flooded the comments with appreciation, completely unaware that this would be the final time they would ever see her alive. The very next morning, Anvi and a group of friends traveled to the Kumbhi waterfall, a highly dramatic destination located roughly 80 miles outside of Mumbai. The waterfall itself drops a staggering 178 feet into a sheer, rocky gorge. Because of the heavy monsoon rains, the entire perimeter was saturated, making the dirt and rock faces exceptionally muddy and covered in slippery moss. Anvi was a seasoned explorer who understood safety protocols, but the visual demands of content creation often push creators to the absolute limit. While attempting to frame a dynamic, high-angle wide shot of the rushing waters for her next reel, she took one step too close to the unbarricaded precipice. Her foot caught a patch of slick, wet mud. She lost her balance and in a terrifying flash vanished over the edge, plunging 350 feet down into a massive, jagged ravine. The drop was so severe and the surrounding jungle vegetation so dense that her panicked friends couldn't even see where she'd landed from the top. A massive rescue operation was launched immediately. Over 50 rescue workers descended upon the site, while 6 highly trained rappelling experts utilized advanced rope systems to drop into the dark, slippery depths of the gorge. The treacherous terrain and non-stop rain turned the rescue into an agonizing 6-hour ordeal. When rescuers finally reached Anvi at the bottom of the ravine, they discovered a miracle. Despite suffering catastrophic internal injuries and multiple fractures, she was still breathing. They secured her to a stretcher and carefully hauled her up the cliffside, rushing her into a waiting ambulance. But the trauma her body had sustained was simply too vast. Shortly after arriving at the hospital, Anvi's heart stopped and she passed away. Her thriving social media page remains frozen in time, a tragic testament to a brilliant creator who lost her life trying to capture the perfect image of the world's dangerous beauty.